Welcome to this screencast of the Relisious Education CPD Day 2019-2020. The recording of this series of screencasts was made necessary by the current situation, whereby the restrictions in place to counter the COVID-19 pandemic has made it impossible for us to bring this workshop to teachers in its original format of a live workshop. We have made all possible efforts to adapt our workshop in such a way that although it was originally designed for live interaction in groups, teachers can benefit from engaging remotely with its content. This resource can be engaged with by individual teachers. However, some activities will be made richer by collaborating with colleagues, as was done during the workshop. During the screencasts, from time to time, we will point out when collaboration and discussion is advisable. Each part of the workshop will last between 30 to 40 minutes, depending on the activities you choose to engage with during the session. Let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Ailish Travers, and I am the team leader for Relisious Education with Junior Cycle for Teachers. I will facilitate this introductory part of the CPD. My colleagues, Niall Peter, Keith Young, and Micheál Scully will each facilitate one part of this CPD for you. In 2018-2019, we had an introduction to the ORI specification CPD Day. The PowerPoint and booklet from the 2018-19 CPD Day is available online if you didn't get to join us or if you wish to revisit it. This is the 2019-2020 CPD Day and is focused on teaching, learning and assessment in ORI. Our future CPD will be focused on the emerging needs of teachers. This is based on feedback from the cluster days as well as queries we receive from you. To help us in our planning, we would appreciate if you took the time to give us feedback at the end of this CPD. The link is available on the website beside the screencasts. We also have recordings of our webinars available online, where the 2019 webinar focuses on planning and the 2020 webinar focuses on creating a research-rich ORI classroom. If this is your very first time joining us for CPD, you might find our information leaflet, which gives a really simple overview of the specification, useful. These and lots of further resources are available to you on the www.jct.ie website. We will point to some of these throughout this CPD. The four parts of this CPD are as follows. Part 1 is an introduction to teaching, learning and assessment in ORI. Part 2 will then look at planning for learning in ORI. Part 3 focuses on classroom-based assessments in ORI. And finally, Part 4 is all about supporting incremental learning in ORI. The learning intention for this introductory session is to consider our experience of working with the Relisious Education specification to date. We do recommend that you work through these sessions in the sequence they are here, in order to get the most out of the material. However, do not feel that they have to all be completed at the same time. To fully engage with this CPD, we recommend that you download and print the booklet that accompanies it. This will be used throughout all parts of this CPD. The booklet symbol in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen will indicate where it will be used, and the facilitator will also refer to it. When you see the pause and reflect icon, you can take time away from the presentation to engage with the material before continuing to the next slide. The strategy icon is used to show where an active classroom strategy was used on the cluster day. We have adapted these for the digital context as much as possible. You will find a list of strategies used in this CPD on page 21 of the booklet, and you will find further support for these strategies on the JCT website. When you see the website icon in the bottom corner of a slide like this one, it will indicate where on the website the resources being referred to can be found. We will have our first opportunity to pause and reflect now using the 3-2-1 strategy. The 3-2-1 strategy is useful for formative assessment to elicit student prior knowledge or as an exit strategy at the end of the class. Here we use it to ask you to think about 3 things you know about Junior Cycle RE, 2 things you need more support with, and 1 thing that is working well for you so far in the Junior Cycle RE classroom. If you have not had a Junior Cycle RE class yet, you can think about what seems to be working well in your school context. If you are with colleagues, you might like to discuss your thoughts. However, if you are by yourself, you might like to jot down your thoughts to share at a future RE department meeting. There is space to record notes on page 9 of the booklet. It is hoped that many of the things you need support with will be addressed during this CPD. However, our contact details are on the last slide of every session should you need further assistance. You can now pause the presentation to do this activity. The Junior Cycle RE specification was introduced for first year students in September 2019. That means in this, the 2020-21 school year, CBA 1 will be happening for the first time, and next year, in the 2021-22 school year, CBA 2 and the Junior Cycle RE exam will take place for the first time. In this CPD, we will have an opportunity to reflect on the CBAs throughout all the sessions, with a particular focus on them in Part 3. The preparation for CBAs and the Junior Cycle RE exam is done through units of learning over 3 years with ongoing formative assessment. This CPD is designed to support you in doing this. The key documents that have framed our CPD design are the Framework for Junior Cycle, the Religious Education Specification, and the Religious Education Assessment Guidelines. They can all be found under the Key Documents tab on the JCT RE website. We recommend you download and save a copy of them or print them out so you can regularly refer to them in your planning and at your RE department meetings. When you have students who are following the Level 2 learning programme or Level 1 learning programme in your class, you can use the L2LP and L1LP tabs on jct.ie to support you. For specific guidance in RE, we have developed documents linking the RE specification to the L2LP PLUs and for the L1LP PLUs. You will find these linked documents under the planning section of the RE JCT page. The NCCA Toolkit series are another set of useful documents that we refer to throughout this CPD. The toolkit consists of 5 booklets, and we draw on the first 4 in this CPD. We engaged with the most recent booklet, Learning Outcomes, in the 2020 webinar, and we will further explore it in the 2020-2021 CPD. These booklets help to scaffold effective formative assessment practices for your religious education classroom. If you wish to further explore these again, you will find them under the Key Documents tab on the JCT RE webpage. We also kept looking at our School 2016 Equality Framework for Post-Primary Schools in mind, so the design of this CPD is consistent with and will enhance ongoing work in this area that your school might be undertaking. After reflecting on the feedback we received from the previous CPD day, one of the themes that emerged was teachers requesting support around the language of Junior Cycle. We created a language matching activity to give teachers an opportunity at the start of the day to collaboratively try to match common terms from the Junior Cycle framework with their definitions. This activity allowed teachers to check their prior knowledge and examine the language of Junior Cycle that is still very new for some of us. We have digitised this matching activity for you using the Quizlet website. For those that joined us on the 2018-19 CPD day, you might recall we used this to examine the definitions of the action verbs. To access it, scan the QR code or click the link on the JCT website and then select the Match tab under the Play heading. You will find the link beside this screencast. The answers to the language matching activity will be found on the Resources tab on the JCT RE website, and you'll also find a glossary of terms right there on page 3 of the resource booklet. By now you might be familiar with this slide that gives an overview of some key parts of the Religious Education specification. From it we can see that there are 3 strands: expressing beliefs, exploring questions, and living our values. There are 31 learning outcomes, and for ease of reference these are found on page 22 of your booklet. When we look at these learning outcomes, we need to be mindful of the action verbs in the specification. These are found on page 20 and 21 of your booklet. The ORE specification also has 3 elements: inquiry, exploration, and reflection and action. When planning a unit of learning, we bring all of these together, taking a non-linear, integrated, and incremental approach. This means the learning outcomes can be engaged with multiple times to allow for the incremental development of student knowledge and skills. With the elements and the action verbs in mind, research is an important skill to develop in the ORE classroom. You will notice that research is a theme found throughout this CPD. It was also explored in the 2020 ORE webinar. We've designed this poster to support student research. You can download it from the JCT ORE website and share it with your students. This quote from the ORE specification, page 11, is an important reminder as we plan for teaching, learning and assessment in ORE. It says, in using the learning outcomes, teachers should plan for learning that is inclusive, engaging and genuinely responds to students' interests and questions. While students may draw on their own experience in an examination, their personal faith commitment and/or affiliation to a particular religious grouping will not be subject to assessment. This is the exact same wording as found on page 45 in the Junior Certificate syllabus. It is a good reminder that religious education as a subject is an inclusive one open to students from all faiths and non-religious worldviews. It also reminds us to place the student at the centre of our planning for teaching, learning and assessment in ORE. Reflection is an integral part of planning for teaching, learning and assessment. The NCCA Toolkit Booklet 4 uses the Rolfe, Freshwater and Jasper what, so what, now what model of reflection. We have used this on page 23 of your booklet to give you space to reflect at the end of each part of this CPD. You may now like to pause to read this statement and reflect on why you think it is important for students and teachers to incorporate moments of reflection throughout the 3 years of junior cycle religious education. The learning intention for this introductory session to teaching, learning and assessment in ORE was to consider our experience of working with the religious education specification to date. The learning intentions for the rest of this CPD are as follows. We recommend that you work through these sessions in the sequence they are here in order to get the most out of the material. However, do not feel that they have to all be completed at the same time. We would really appreciate you taking the time to submit your feedback for us on this CPD via the link on the JCT website, which you will find beside this series of screencasts. While we cannot be with you in person at this time, we continue to design support material for our website, www.jct.ie. We tweet out relevant news and links on our Twitter page at JCT_ORE. If you do not have a Twitter account, you can see these on our website. We are available and happy to answer any queries you might have via email to info@jct.ie. On behalf of the team, I would like to thank you for engaging with this CPD and to all we have met in person to date for making our work with you so enjoyable. We look forward to meeting with you again, either virtually or in person when it is safe to do so.